Imagine two parrots born in the exact same nest. They share the same parents, the same DNA, and identical biological potential. But before they can even fly, a massive storm hits. The nest is destroyed, and the two birds are swept up in opposite directions. The first parrot lands in a rugged camp populated by highway robbers. Years later, if you walk past that camp, you'll hear that parrot squawking at the top of its lungs, "Catch him! Beat him! Take his money!" It has adopted the violent, aggressive language of the thieves it lives with. The second parrot is blown far away, eventually landing near a quiet ashram filled with meditative scholars. Walk past that parrot, and it speaks in a completely different tone. "Welcome, sir. Please take a seat and have some water." It mirrors the serene hospitality of the monks. This ancient Indian parable poses a very direct question. If the starting conditions and the genetics of those two birds were identical, how is it that their physical environment had total dictatorial control over who they became? We often view ourselves as fiercely independent individuals, operating with total free will. But ancient Vedic philosophy approaches human behavior from a more mechanical perspective. It treats the human mind as a highly vulnerable processing unit. Your biology functions like hardware, with 5 sensory input nodes, the Gyanendriyas. These senses gather raw data and feed it directly into your central processor, the mind. The mind then converts this data into internal software, commanding your hands, legs, and speech. This system contains a glaring security flaw. The processor does not distinguish between good and bad data. If hostile, negative inputs consistently outnumber positive ones, your character algorithm is rewritten without your conscious permission. We are not entirely autonomous actors. We are biological machines, and our behavioral code is constantly being programmed by the company we keep and the environments we inhabit. The Bhagavad Gita outlines a specific psychological pipeline explaining how a bad environment breaches our mental defenses. The text draws a sharp line between mere exposure and active contemplation. You might glance at a toxic image on the street and look away, but if your mind latches onto it, you have entered what the texts call a monorath, literally a mental chariot that carries your focus away from your goals. That active contemplation triggers a dangerous cascade effect. Contemplating an object breeds attachment. That attachment builds into frustrated desire, and when that desire isn't met, it manifests as anger, which eventually shuts down human intelligence entirely. History provides extreme evidence of this pipeline. Uncontrolled anger and negative conditioning can scale up to total societal ruin, driven by leaders consumed by delusions. Bad association poses a threat precisely because it hijacks your contemplation pipeline so gradually that you never notice the corruption taking place. To see this hack in practice, look at Queen Kaikeyi from the Ramayana. Initially, she was a pure-hearted woman. When she heard her stepson, Ram, was to be crowned king, she was thrilled, even gifting jewelry to the messengers. But then she spoke to her servant, Manthara. Manthara was insecure and envious. She acted like a malicious hacker, systematically injecting an envy virus into Kaikeyi's mind. She told the queen that if Ram took the throne, Kaikeyi would lose her status and become a servant. Kaikeyi had never considered this perspective, but through repetitive, negative framing, Manthara's toxic association successfully overwrote the queen's internal algorithm. Kaikeyi eventually demanded her stepson's exile, ruining her own family. Today, most of us carry a pocket-sized version of Manthara everywhere we go. Smartphone algorithms feed you a relentless stream of comparison, distraction, and outrage. They hijack your mind using the exact same psychological exploit Manthara used, repetitive, emotionally charged inputs that force you to contemplate things that make you anxious. Constant digital consumption mirrors the effect of surrounding yourself with toxic, manipulative friends whose only goal is to derail your focus. But the hardware of the mind works both ways. Take the story of Sugriva, a king driven out of his home by his aggressive brother. Sugriva was hiding in the mountains, paralyzed by fear and self-doubt. Every time he saw a stranger, he assumed they were assassins. But Sugriva had an incredibly wise and analytical companion, Hanuman. Hanuman's logic replaced Sugriva's panic. demonstrating how a positive associate serves as a critical software update to our character. Hanuman personally investigated the strangers, securing them as powerful allies for the king. We see this in modern history as well. During his college years, APJ Abdul Kalam realized that idle gossip between classes was useless data. He actively fled to the library, pulling 3 or 4 studious friends along with him to protect his inputs. By fiercely curating his environment and associating with virtuous peers, Kalam elevated his own mind. He went on to become one of the world's most brilliant aerospace scientists and the president of India. While bad association degrades your hardware like a virus, a virtuous environment provides the necessary firewall and operating system upgrade to expand your capabilities. Think of your character like a piece of coal sitting securely inside a roaring fire. While it remains inside, it absorbs the energy around it and becomes a glowing, powerful tool. It has the heat required to cook a meal and sustain life. But if that same piece of coal is pulled out of the fire and drops onto the cold ground, it rapidly cools. Within minutes, it turns into a dull, black, lifeless lump. Human nature operates by the same thermodynamics. Your willpower, your virtue, and your ability to focus are entirely dependent on your proximity to the heat of good influences. Human greatness is not a permanent, fixed trait. It is a temporary state of being, maintained entirely by the environment you choose to stay inside. You cannot stop your mind from processing data. Your sensory nodes are always on, and you will inevitably become a reflection of your surroundings. The only true agency you have in this life is the conscious, ruthless curation of the fire you choose to sit inside. Audit the data you are feeding yourself. Cut off the toxic relationships that pull you out of the heat, and silence the digital algorithms that are designed to agitate you. Curate your friends and your environment, because the inputs you accept today are actively writing the source code for the person you become tomorrow.